The year of our Lord 1917. What did this year mean for Russian history or for the history of the world? Let us examine it together. The easiest way to seize the pulse of those tremendously nervous and dramatic times is to see it through how it was represented in the local press at that time. And the newspapers or leaflets show us precisely the course of the events and how they were considered and regarded by the people of that time. So here we would invite you to leave with us on a little journey through the year 1917 and what it meant for Russia at that time. Of course, the course of the events took place, first of all, in February 1917, the so-called Russian February Revolution, which brought the Emperor Nicholas II of Russia down, and several newspapers at that time, on the early days of March 1917, came out with the text, a historic revolutionary event, the text of the Tsar's abdication. Nicholas II abdicates from his throne, and one day later, his brother, younger brother, the Grand Duke Mikhail, did the same. And the first reactions to the abdication of Nicholas II were all happy ones and satisfactory, even, of course, because no one wanted the Tsar any longer, and everyone hoped for the better times for the country to come. Of course, they did not know what future history had already in store for them. But we know, because 6 months later, the same year, another revolution. This time, the Bolsheviks, those minority but very radical groups, seized power in Russia in November of 1917. And their ruthless, hypocrite methods arise critiques from all sides, from the sides of the monarchists, but also from the side of other revolutionaries, revolutionary parties, like social revolutionaries, who had a very strong support from numerous Russian peasant population. And of course, those critiques, one can easily see that the revolutionary parties that were not now in the government criticized severely the methods and deeds of the Bolsheviks, who started repressing the free press, of course. What is very important also to indicate is that the methods of the Bolsheviks were actually bringing the country to the brink of a civil war. And what happened later was precisely a ruthless civil war that broke out already at the end of 1917. So the hopes of the vast majority of the country's population was at that time, with the upcoming Constituent Assembly that was about to lay down the foundation of the newly established republic. But already at that time, what we can see what we can read in the newspapers of all the opposing parties were precisely certain reservations and doubts as to the possibility of that Constituent Assembly work normally under the constant pressure of the Bolshevik power. And the Bolsheviks were getting ready for the elections just as well. There's extremely rare leaflet published in Petrograd, in the capital, on the 6th of December 1917, shows precisely what methods the Bolsheviks were considering at that time in that eventuality that things could start getting worse for them with the Constituent Assembly, not favorable to them. This is an order for the Petrograd region, according to which all sorts of meetings and public assemblies in the streets would be dispersed without mercy by fire. And so, finally, at the beginning of 1918, the Constituent Assembly did take place in St. Petersburg, but it was only held for one day. So the first freely elected parliament in the modern history of Russia was, as you see, short-lived. The Bolsheviks suppressed it. And more than that, they actually suppressed even one of the meetings in favoring the Constituent Assembly. And at that time, many social revolutionary newspapers came out again with strongly condemning the actions of the Bolsheviks, accusing them of taking over the methods, the terrible methods of the Tsarism. But unfortunately, they lost the favorable momentum, and the Bolsheviks, with their grip on the power, was so great that they actually were ready to use all sorts of Machiavellic devices, Machiavellic methods and techniques in order to keep that power with them. So 1917 was waning away and bringing new life to Russia. What sort of life it was? According to the Bolshevik propaganda, it was supposed to be a rather brilliant future, a sort of a dawn, new dawn over the country. For sure, a new dawn for them, the chiefs, here represented on that extremely rare photograph, 1 year after the taking over of power. The truth, of course, was not there with the Bolshevik propaganda. The truth was that the country, by the end of 1917, which was formerly a great and powerful empire with prosperous population, was now with ruined and suffering, and civil war breaking out, bringing new miseries to their peoples. But needless to say that the 1917 revolution brought about such enormous changes to the country that the rest of the world could not be there just staying intact of those changes. So the year of our Lord 1917 was actually a year that changed not only Russia but changed the world.